The thing that's different for me about this relationship than any other previous relationship is actually me within the relationship, and the fact that I am willing to look at the things that I need to change. And you came along at a point where I wanted to change. And they say that when the pupil's ready, the teacher appears, and you're my teacher.
This is Awakened Love, the podcast, and I'm your host, Angel. This is a space where we get real about sex, love, and awakening. So strap in, let's go deep. What's up, beautiful awakened beings? Welcome to another episode of Awakened Love. And today, finally, I have Patrick Drake, co-founder of HelloFresh, presenter on Nat Geo, Fox, and Discovery, and the founder of Autonomy Foods, but most importantly, my husband. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Everyone's been wondering when I was going to be invited on.
Yeah, well, he did so a little bit reluctantly, but he said, if it's important to you, then I'll do it. So here he is, and we are going to play a game. We have no affiliation. I'm not advertising this at all, but we just bought Esther Perel's We're Not Really Stranger Couples Edition card set. And when we're eating, we often pull cards and we just play. And the other day we were doing it and I was like, man, we should do a podcast episode on this. This would be really fun. And he was like, but here he is. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to pull these cards and we're going to answer these questions and give you a little window into our love.
Did you ever stalk my social media before we met? If so, what stood out?
Well, I didn't. We met on a dating app. No, wait. Rye connected to social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then I definitely did. But the funnier answer to that is I never Googled you until we lived together when we were dating. Then I was like, I'm going to Google you because I'd never Googled you. And then you had Google alerts on. So you said something about it that night. You were like, oh, someone Googled something. I was like, oh, that's so weird. I don't know who. I never told you that. It was me. Did you stalk me on social media?
I didn't. I don't remember stalking on social media. I think I was just pretty convinced by the photos I saw on that dating app, and she had a skinhead, basically, like a head, like her hair was about as short as a tennis ball.
It was like, yeah, it was like a number. It was like a 0. It was the number 1, like very short.
A little bit of fuzz, and I just thought, wow, this girl looks kind of freaky and looks like she'd be a lot of fun to hang out with. And I wasn't wrong. What did your friends think about me when we first started dating?
Well, 2 of my girlfriends met you in that period, and only 2 of them, because one was LJ. Hi, LJ. Actually, and both of them are pregnant right now, which I can say because they've both announced. But so LJ and Courtney, 2 of my best girlfriends from Australia, both met you. Courtney was at Burning Man with us, which is when we fell in love, and LJ was in London with us. LJ was on our first date, actually. I brought LJ with us because I was like, I don't know, I met this guy online. He seems awesome, but he could be a serial killer. Come with me. And they loved you. They both really, I remember LJ, I had this moment where I was like, I don't even know if this guy likes me. She's like, what are you fucking talking about? Look at what he does. Cause I'm like, I don't know. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't expressed. And she's like, yeah, but what is he doing? He's showed up. Like the one time I expressed, I didn't, we had a little bit of friction. You called me immediately to iron it out. You followed up, you were super present. She was just like, look at his actions. And then Courtney, I remember the night you came to find me at Burning Man, and you'd left a note on my RV because Courtney and I were out on some wild adventure, which is another story entirely. But we came back and the note was on the door, and she looked at me and she said, keep that note. And I was like, on another planet. And I was like, yeah, whatever, why? And she's like, she grabbed me and she was like, you need to keep this note. Mark my words, you were going to want to keep this note.
Did you?
I did, but we had a house fire, so I lost it. But I did keep the note. And then you found me the next morning while I was squeezing my zit in our RV. It's beautiful. It's not exactly the moment you want the person you're dating to catch you in, but anyways. So yeah, they were both helped me stay clear when I was like unsure, or, you know, like all the anxious for like uncertainty and emotions and hormones and everything that's flying around. Like they were both very like steady and anchored in the fact that they felt like this was important and that you were going to be, I think they both believed like you were it, maybe even before I was willing to admit.
Nice. Yeah. I've always trusted their judgment. I think they know what they're talking about.
And your friends?
Well, I never ask my friends, and I've never asked a friend before about like, what do you think of this person? Because it's not really relevant to me. It's like, if I like you, then that's the most important. But what I will say, and what I do remember, is that around the time when we'd first met, you sent me a little text message around midnight and said, "Oh, I just happened to be in the neighborhood."
Oh no, don't tell this story.
Can I come?
Not the story.
Can I come over and say hi? Anyway, I'll skip the details. But the next morning, my brother, who happened to be staying over, walks into the room, and all he sees is this bum sticking out the side of the bed and the back of a shaved head, and he thought, who the fuck is Patrick in bed with? That's what my brother thought. He was like,
that's how I met your brother.
That's how you met my brother. He was like, whoa, I don't think I'm meant to see this. But that was the first time my brother met you.
What about Felix? Felix was at the Burning Man.
Felix, well, yeah, his impression of you was you're the hottest cleaning lady he'd ever seen. Because I think the first time Felix saw you was when he walked into the RV in which Felix and I were staying, and you actually were staying too, as it turns out, even though your RV was over the other side of the playa. And as I recall, you were on your hands and knees,
wiping dust
off the floor in kind of essentially like bondage underwear,
bondage gear, dominatrix kit.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Felix thought you were pretty awesome. He had a very, very strong first impression, and I don't think he's ever forgotten that moment, because he seemed to bring it up quite a lot.
He never lets me forget it, that's for sure.
So yeah, I didn't really have to tell my friends what I thought of you, because they could make their own impressions, basically.
Needed no introduction. Yeah. About to get deep, y'all. What fight of ours did you struggle with most? What felt particularly hard for you about it?
I'm
laughing because I'm nervous.
I think that any fight that we have, honestly, is the bigger ones are always hard, because we're both, we both like to win, and we both can be a little like a dog with a bone, and so. Yeah, neither of us really, neither of us will back down, although I'll say that we've got a lot better at that. Mm-hmm. I think that, in previous fights, certainly in the kind of first 80% of our relationship, the thing that I would find I would come up against is that we'd be arguing about a certain point, but the point itself would get lost, because the thing that we would end up arguing about was the way we were arguing, and specifically the way I was arguing, and the words I was using, and the language I was using, because it wasn't conscious communication. And so I thought, okay, right, I see. So I will learn conscious communication so that I have a greater chance of winning the argument. Mm. And so that was my initial motivation for learning the rules, your rules of the game. And then, of course, I went to the Hoffman process, a few months ago, and I came out and I realized, oh, okay, no, actually, I actually do want to consciously communicate because I want to get through this quicker and repair more quickly. And so, yeah, I didn't then just use those words and that language to win, but actually, well, for us both to win, in the sense that winning is coming back together and reconnecting. So I think that's improved things.
Yes, it really has, my love, and I'm so grateful to you for that. I remember the first time you pulled me up on conscious communication, and I was like, oh my God, thank you. And are you reading Conscious Loving? How do you know that? Yeah, I think that
Conscious Loving and Terry Real.
Yeah. A fierce intimacy. Yeah, I just couldn't. I was so astounded when I think it was just before Hoffman, or maybe when you got back and you had just started reading those books quietly and didn't even tell me when I'd been asking for so long. And I just stopped asking. And then eventually, yeah, like after Hoffman and before, you just quietly went about implementing. And it's been so incredible, yeah, to feel you in that with me, because I remember what I would struggle with in our arguments is I would feel you not using conscious communication, and then I would just be like, well, fuck it, I just want to say whatever the hell I want to say too. But then I would be worried because I had more anxious attachment, so I wanted to preserve the connection more. But then I would feel like I would the frustration would continue because I wouldn't feel like I got to get my point across, or I would just stop using conscious communication and we would just have an all-out battle. And you're right, like in our worst moments, you and I turn into two attorneys in the courtroom, and you are an Oxford-educated lawyer, and I'm a scrappy, like I would be like what would I be? The attorney that's like not playing by the rules.
You're the attorney that they bring in for free when the criminal's been brought into the jail, and it's like this like little scrappy pit fighter. It's like the public defender, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Fighting for justice.
That's your thing. You love justice.
I do love it.
Yeah. I think so. That's hard. Yeah. When we're both stuck in rightness. Yeah. I think what I struggle with when we fight the most, and it's gotten a lot better, is when I would lose access to your heart, when I would feel you just disappear. And also when I lose access to my own heart, like that's the hardest part for me. I feel like my ability to love is my greatest gift, and the way that I love and the veracity with which I love and the relentlessness with which I love. And when I'm in a space of such distress or trigger that I lose access to your love and my love, feeling my heart or your heart, that's so heartbreaking and sucks so much. Yeah, that's, I think, the thing I struggle the most with is not being able to feel you or feel me. If I get numb, that's like the worst thing for me. But yeah, I'm so grateful to you, my love, for your willingness to keep learning with me and feeling you in it with me now. Like the last, I'd say 6 months, we went through the hardest year in our relationship by far, I would say, from, the end of last year until probably, around June, would you say, started to pop out. Been together 6 years, and yeah, we really, like, in the beginning of our relationship was hard, and then we kind of had this like just amazing, like, such best friends, get along so well, love the fuck out of each other, never get sick of each other, like obsessed with each other. And then we went through this really, really dark night of the soul as a couple, and like all of my trauma resurfaced and all of your trauma resurfaced, and it's like shit got really hard really fast. And the thing I'm so grateful for is that you lent the fuck in. You went to Hoffman, you started reading the books, you strapped in. And it was so important for me because I couldn't hold it at that point. I couldn't hold hold conscious communication for us and hold the line of like, let's repair and hold. I just couldn't hold it anymore. And I like needed you to help me, and you did. So yeah, thank you, baby.
In what way is this relationship unlike any other before?
So many ways. Do I have to answer first?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, the thing I just said, that you have the capacity to self-reflect and actually implement change. That was such a shock for me when we first got in our relationship, and I would like make a request to you or give you feedback in some way. And you might have like been a bit gruff about the way I had like I felt you didn't receive it. I was like, yeah, well, here we go again. Men never receive feedback. Dad, is that you? And then I typically dated men who were very self-centered and like really refused to implement feedback and ever look at their own part in anything ever. And you would implement it. And then I would see that like I didn't think it landed, but then like the next hour, the next day, the next week, like you would implement the change. And I was like, that's new. So yeah, I think the fact that you're willing to grow with me the way you are, and that you're willing to, although it's not always your favorite thing, like you do take feedback on and you do implement. That's totally different. I've never had that in a relationship before.
Yeah, I just don't like being told what to do. I like to
men love that though. I thought men love that.
Not this one, yeah. I like to be able to do things. Generally, if I can, I like to be able to do them before I've been asked, because the little child in me feels like it gets more credit that way because it's done a good thing. I've been a good boy. When I'm being told to do something, it feels like an obligation. So I suppose I can see that I'll resist for a little while, and then I'll get to a point where I think, okay, if I start doing this now, it feels like I'm doing it under my own steam. I have to tell myself this little story because the little unruly child in me is still very alive and kicking against authority.
Yeah.
The thing that's different for me about this relationship than any other previous relationship is actually me within the relationship, and the fact that I am willing to look at the things that I need to change. And you came along at a point where I wanted to change. And they say that when the pupil's ready, the teacher appears, and you're my teacher. And
you're mine.
You're a teacher that has a wooden ruler in your hand. You give me a little smack every so often when I'm misbehaving and I'm talking at the back and not paying attention. But yeah, you've kind of held me to account. And, ultimately the truth is that you're so incredible that I want to work for this, because you're so important to me. You're everything to me. So the stakes are so high. I adore you, and so I want to make it work. And as painful as that can be sometimes to push against lifetimes of patterning, you inspire that in me. So thank you.
I love you. You've definitely helped me get better at giving feedback too. Now I feel like I have to be very artful with it, whereas before I was like a blunt instrument.
Yeah, I think you've learned that there's, there are a certain set of circumstances that need to precede feedback, and usually those circumstances are to do with me having eaten. and if I have, then...
Or not being in the car. I'm not allowed to give feedback when we're driving.
No. Because then I feel like a cornered animal that can't get out. I literally can't. I mean, sometimes I'd consider it at 40 miles an hour going up a mountain road because of how intense the conversations are. But
Why do you, just segue, why do you think it's so hard for men to take feedback? Because think about me, how often do you give feedback since we've been the beginning of being together, and how would you say I receive feedback?
I can't talk for you. Yeah, you're good at taking feedback, and
okay, well, why has feedback been hard for you? But I just think why it seems to be harder for men.
I think because there's a lot of pressure put on boys to be perfect. And to be, not that there isn't on girls too. Of course there is.
So much pressure on women to be perfect.
But I mean, there's, I don't know. I don't know. It's so many different things. So there could be the child that is told that it needs to be perfect, And so any kind of indication from a partner in later life that they're imperfect and they need to work on something is, cut straight across that. It could be that obeying authority wasn't modeled to you as a child. So let's say that your caregivers were people who were rebellious spirits themselves and showed no respect for authority. Maybe that's something that would pattern you. I feel like I have a bit of both of those.
It's super interesting to feel like if someone's giving you feedback, then you see them as being an authority figure.
Yeah,
because it's like that I'm not an authority figure to you. I'm your wife, but it's
well, I don't know. I think you are somewhat of an authority figure.
And you to me, though, do you not say that you're an authority figure to me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then, if I'm an authority to you and you're an authority to me, then that's that.
Yeah, you're just better at taking it. I don't know. Again, it's just that little kid in me that just will not be told what to do.
Which also I love about you, because that's also why you've done what you've been able to do in your life, because you're a radical, you're a rebel, you're a revolutionary. If you just took what everyone told you had to do in life, like follow that track, welcome to the matrix, and you have never done that. You're a radical. I always say you're a visionary. You're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create this. And people, and you manage to rally people around you to create that. So there is a benefit to that, the part of you that's like, hell no, don't tell me what to do. I love that part of you.
Yeah, I won't be put in a box, and I don't want other people to be either. That's why I want to bring people along on the journey, because it's a cliche to say you only get one life and it's not a dress rehearsal and all these things. But cliches are cliches for a reason. There's so much truth in it. And being told this is the way it needs to be done because this is the way it's always been done is so abhorrent to me.
Yeah.
And, I've always thought of it as this cult of mediocrity that tries to suck you into doing things the way you should do them. And should is actually a word that I always try and eliminate from my vocabulary anyway. Because there are no shoulds. It's just, you should do what you want to do.
Well, yeah, what your higher self wants you to do, not your conditioned self. And that's the thing about relationship, right? Is like to hold up that mirror and keep each other accountable to our potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the important piece here, y'all. And what I've learned with feedback is to start with feelings. My feelings. And that seems to work better.
Mm-hmm.
What's one way our relationship has gotten better over time?
I think that we just know each other better, and there's a level of safety and trust between us that is, it's so strong. I mean, we've forged our relationship in so much fire, both real fire and the fire of going through very hard things, the hardest things, or at least some of the hardest things.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come out the other side, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think that we're just such a good team. Like we're very in sync with each other. We know we just, there's a very high level of non-verbal communication where we just understand what the other needs, and we're able to step in and meet those needs. Perhaps even before the other knows that, in fact, this is the thing that they do need.
Yeah.
So I think that just a level of knowing that is so far beyond the verbal.
Yeah, my mentor always says that to me. She's like, you know what I don't hear clients say very often? My husband is so attuned, which I say, you are very attuned. And typically women are very attuned. So it's like, I'm so grateful for your level of attunement and energetic sensitivity.
But I think that comes from childhood, right? That's one of those things where it's
hypervigilance.
Vigilance.
Yeah, that's the gift of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everyone goes into vigilance or sensitivity. Some people go into shutdown, and there's even gifts to that. Weirdly, like the capacity to compartmentalize can, it's like all of our curses can become gifts. But I'm grateful that we share that hypervigilance / sensitivity when we're in our highest. And also I think what comes from that is we understand each other. Like I'm very sensitive, and you're sensitive. You have a sensitive nervous system as well. And I remember when I first met you, you actually taught me how to take care of being sensitive, because I was just like fucking in such chaos, and you created such order in your life. You had such structure in your life that allowed you to feel safe and like at like a great baseline, and you kind of gave me that. And I think, yeah, so grateful for that. But to answer the question, how has our relationship gotten better over time? I just think the trust, like you're saying, just the trust and the safety. You can't, you need time for that. Like you said, you have to go through some shit to really see who someone is. Like we have seen each other like in our fucking worst. And even this last year when we went through hell together, I was still so proud of the way we treated each other, even at our worst. Our worst. I'm talking worst. Our worst level baseline of decency towards one another is pretty fucking high. And that is something we've earned together over time, to be like, we can go through that and show our darkest demons and go through such tough times and be in so much pain and fear and trauma and still treat each other with like that basic level of decency. And like that we earned over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, you just can't, I don't know, you just kind of have to go through some shit to get that. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and I think that you've got to understand that you're going to go through that. And I think that's the thing, is breaking through the honeymoon period and seeing the other person for who they really are, rather than who you're projecting onto them, you know, this idealized image of who they are and all the gaps in your life that they can fill for you. And getting to that point, and as everyone does. And, you know, that's sort of oftentimes the breaking point for many people, because they're like, oh, wait, you're not this person that I believed, and there's all these things we need to figure out. And if you're willing to push through that, then yeah, on the other side is the relationship that you want, and the person that you want, and the person that you want yourself to be as well. Like that's actually figured that stuff out.
Yeah. It's like these relational skills that you kind of have to earn your way into through practice. And I think the sad thing is most relationships end because people don't have the relational skill to get through the hard times that are going to come. And it's not just innate. Like, it's not just natural, these things. You do have to read the books. You do have to go to therapy or coaching, or like you it's not innate. It's not automatic. We've had to learn these skills together to get through it, and are still learning. I think that's important to know for people. It's like,
and if you can get yourself a coach as a partner, it's like a clutch. It's great. You know, your entire relationship becomes a case study that you can work out every single day and every single moment, and it's really wonderful.
If you want to actualize, folks, you heard it here first.
Okay, level 3. What could other couples learn from us? It feels a little self-indulgent, but I didn't ask the question, the box did. So
that's your British conditioning, baby.
I'm not saying that I'm about to teach anybody anything.
I think that I remember Britton said to us once, Britton's one of our best friends. Shout out to Nick and Britton. She was like, you guys are so polite to each other. Like, even, and I'd never noticed that before, but she was like, even when like, I'm like, my love, can you please pass me the blah, blah on the table? That's how I ask you, my love, can you please pass me the salt? Yes, absolutely. And like, we're very, but what the word polite, I would switch for conscientious. And it's like such an undervalued quality in our modern society. But you and I, as a couple towards one another, are really fucking conscientious. We really think about how our actions and our words are going to impact each other, what's going to make each other's day easier. If we made each other's day a little harder, how can we rectify? Like there's a level of thoughtfulness and conscientiousness attitude that we bring to our relationship of like treating each other really well, speaking to each other really well, taking care of each other. Like you take such good care of me. I take such good care of you. And we really, I think I put a lot of effort in. I know you put a lot of energy into being like, I want you to feel really well considered and taken care of. And I know the things that make you feel that way. And I make sure to do them, whether I want to do them or not, like whether it's fun, fast, or easy to do it or not, that doesn't matter. We don't just like speak to each other in a curt like way. We're very conscientious and thoughtful. And I think people, especially if you've been together a long time, been together 6 years, lose that.
Yeah. I would say that, I don't know if this is something that other couples could learn from us, but it's just something that I think that we do extremely well. And I touched on it before, which is that we're just very good at picking up the slack for each other. And we're just very good at seeing when that other person is lacking capacity for whatever it might be it something that's deep and emotional, or just making the bed in the morning, whatever it might be.
Like you did this morning for me, and you do most mornings.
Well, I do most mornings because I think our unwritten agreement is that the person who gets out of bed last has to make the bed.
Yep.
That's basically me every day. Because and there's a reason for that. It's because I'm like, I get out of bed last because I'm like, why would I get out of bed first? If she's not out of bed, then what am I going to do? It's like my playmate's not up, so I was like, well, I don't know.
He says that, and yet his morning routine is so sacred. I'm not allowed to come anywhere near him when he's first up. He's got to have his time together. And I love getting up out of bed first because my spiritual practice I love doing in total silence. I don't use music. I don't use anything. So there's no creaking or anything in the house. But whoever gets out of bed last. And yes, we do pick up each other's slack. Even you doing this podcast for me, I know you were like not that excited to do it. And I was like, I had 2 guests cancel and I don't have one, and I need to do one. And I was just sharing vulnerably with you, and you were like, you're like, yeah, okay. You have a million other things you need to do today, but you were generous, and so here you are.
Yeah, I think that's just that's maybe the learning point is just to be able to look at your partner and think, in this given moment, do they have the capacity to do this thing that I'm either asking them to do, or maybe I'm not asking them to do, I'm just silently expecting them to do, and really feeding into that question. And if the answer is no, then it's saying, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this for them, or
for us,
or for us, or do they just need cheering up? Do I need to be the entertainer right now? Do I need to be the life and soul of the party to bring the energy up because this person's in a little bit of a rut? And that might be acting silly, putting certain music on, starting to, I don't know, like we do in the car when we just start shaking and going, and just acting all fucking weird, because we know that the other person kind of needs to just smile or let the tension out of their body or whatever it is. And so it's just like, help, like leading the other person. So
I love that. When I'm mad and I'm venting to him and I'm like, rah, 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 he's like, yeah, fuck that person. And you like turn the energy up like by 50% so that I laugh at myself because I realize I'm being like in that energy, and you're like, yeah, fuck him up. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like, and we just laugh together. Or if you're in like a bit of a grumpy mood after work and we're going to the gym, then I'll put like funny music on and I'll be like super animated. And it's like, whichever one doesn't have, we kind of like, it's an unspoken thing we do. We pick up. Or if we're going to an event and one of us is not feeling good, it's like the other one picks up the energy. It's like we're a team and we're an energetic unit. And if you don't have, then like I, or vice versa, like someone has to hold. Someone's got to hold the baby.
Right. There has to be one adult in the room at all times.
Yeah. Sometimes there's not. And that's when shit really hits the fan, honey. When was the last time you felt really lucky to be my significant other? Get specific. All the time doesn't count.
Frankly, the other night when you made one of my absolute favorite dinners and we sat down with that dinner and we watched a show together, and I just thought to myself, holy shit, like not only can she cook the most amazing food, but we're so aligned on the simple pleasures in life. I feel so lucky every time that we're just enjoying something that's a simple pleasure. And I just think, wow, I really met a person who is so on the same wavelength that, you know, we just love the little things in life. We can celebrate that. And it's so awesome. It's just so, like, you know, to know that, yeah, just to feel that kind of alignment. I just feel very blessed.
Bless it. Yeah, I think I always feel lucky to be a partner when you make me laugh. And you do that often. Like, I can't remember what we were laughing about yesterday in the car. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Is it what were we laughing about?
About the neighbour.
Oh, yeah, about the neighbour. You're just so funny. Yeah, we had a crusty neighbour and we just started like making jokes about, imagine if I wrote back this and imagine if I wrote back that, instead of like Patrick, who's such an amazing diplomat and thank God takes care of that for our team, because I'm less of a diplomat and more of a randy little chihuahua. And you just make me laugh. Or like the other day we're in Home Depot and we're doing something super boring and I'm like standing there and I think I call you, I'm like, hey, do you want to come to this section to look at the blah blah? And you're like, you know what, I would absolutely love to. And so I don't know, you just said something super funny and I'm just like standing there by myself cracking up in aisle 10 waiting for you to come. And I'm just like, I always feel so lucky to be your significant other when you're making me laugh. And we laugh so often. And I remember once I said to you, I think we were in Italy, I was like, people must just think you're so funny because I'm always laughing so hard. And you were like, yeah, or that you're an alcoholic. And I was just like, where did I find you? You're so funny. And you just come out of nowhere with just the laughs. And I feel so lucky to be your wife, because whether we're in Home Depot or we're having a fight or I'm like getting revved up about something and you just crack a joke and it makes me laugh. And I'm so grateful of how often you make me laugh, because laughing is probably my favorite thing to do in the whole world.
Mm-hmm. I've gathered that.
And it's not that hard. Or like Diego, when like, whose husband, when I'm feeling like super like, oh, I don't want to work out, but I know I really need to move my body after work. And I'm like, will you do a bar class with me? And you're like, yeah, babe, sure. And you like come and you're like doing all the moves, so funny. And I'm like looking at you just fucking cracking up. And then you're on the mats and like your back is making a fart sound with like every move. Like I've never met anyone whose back makes that many fart sounds. I'm just like, and now I can't do a bar class by myself. I did one yesterday and I was like, this just is not the same without the alter ego.
Without Diego, the flatulent bar class instructor. It's just an alter ego. It's a game we play. Yeah.
Oh my God.
In your opinion, how am I holding myself back the most?
Shots fired. You asked for spice. Here we go. Oh, wait, I have to answer first. Damn it. I thought you were going to have to answer first. Ooh, okay. Sometimes I don't think you celebrate yourself enough. I feel like, or you forget, and I remind you, other days not, but like who the fuck you are and what the fuck you have done in this life and what you have already created. And like, sometimes I think you forget that in moments, and don't we fucking all? But like, yeah, that realizing and remembering in all moments your greatness. And I guess I'm extremely biased because I'm your wife, but I believe you are you are an exceptional human being, emotionally, spiritually, but also like what you've done, the things you've created in this life, the businesses you've built, the blocks you've blasted through to do what you've done. Yet it has taken and continues to take so much fucking courage to do what you do. And I don't think you recognize that all the time, to be like, holy fuck, 99.9% of people would never take the risks and have the courage and continue and the perseverance to do what I do, to live the life that you live and to create the life that you have for you and for us. It's like that, I think, is the thing that holds you back the most, is when you forget that. That even on your worst days, you're still a fucking badass.
Thanks, baby. Yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, I think it's just a common trait, isn't it? Like it's, I'll cook a meal for a bunch of people come over or for you. And I won't think for a second about the 99.5% of that meal that's incredible as the people at the table are hopefully thinking. I'll just think about the fact that I didn't put a squeeze of lemon juice in it. So I'll always focus on the thing that I haven't done. And I think it's just the way it goes. But I could get better at it. How do I think that you're holding yourself back? Wow. I mean, it's genuinely difficult to answer that. Like if there was something I could point to, like, I think, you have a lack of self-belief, or I think you could do more of this or less of that, then that make things easy. But really, you're the most ferociously growth-oriented person I know. And so if there was ever anything that you felt was holding yourself back, you would just drive straight at it in your freaking tank with the guns just like on the full attack mode.
Maybe there's something in that.
And so I don't know if there's anything that I can think of that holds you back. It just feels like you're kind of attacking all of the things, and you're always growing. And that might sound like a cop-out answer, and one where I'm just being biased, but.
Well, maybe there's something about my approach that you just look at me, growth oriented. I'm like, come on, give me some.
I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got.
There's got to be one thing that you see that I do that like could be refined, no?
I think that it's something that you have been working on since we were first dating, and that's just softening.
Yeah.
And I think you've come so far in that sense, like letting your guard down where appropriate, and letting people in, trusting, and softening, and letting other people take the reins, and not feeling like a constant obligation that you have to be the leader, you have to be the one who's caretaker, the one who's diving in to fix a situation, whatever it might be, that you have to be your sole protector. I think being able to basically do the backwards trust dive, falling into other people's arms. That's something that I've seen you get so much better at, infinitely better at, as over the course of the last 6 years. And I think that, it's something that I can see you continually pushing at and opening up new levels of surrender, as I say, where that surrender is appropriate.
Yeah, you gave me that feedback, I think probably 2 years ago. I'll never forget. I love feedback. And a similar thing, we were exploring, I think it was New Year's, and you said, you need to ask for help. You don't ask for help. You have all these people around you that could help you. Like, ask. And remember, that was my tool for that year.
Yeah.
Was to ask.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, you're right. I never fucking ask for help, and it sucks, and I'm exhausted. And
when you did.
Yeah. Actually, it's really interesting to track that in this moment and realize, because people have asked, I coach a lot of other coaches and facilitators, and they ask, like, with your business, and how did that happen? And there are a few things that happen, but one thing I haven't actually tracked is when you gave me that feedback and I started asking for help, I found my mentor, I found my spiritual teacher. It took a couple of years of practicing asking for help. I extended my reach. My business like quadrupled from asking for help. And that's just one metric, obviously my personal life, and like now having mentors and teachers that I can trust and lean on, like, oh my God, exponentially, and like the amount of healing I've been able to do. But yeah, that piece, because you shared that with me, has been so helpful. It's actually, yeah, changed my life, being able to ask for help.
And I think it's the realization that when you do ask people for help, especially as a person who never normally does that, particularly that kind of personality type, you are giving that person a gift, which is the gift of feeling like they can be useful to you, since you're always being useful to other people. And when you can't let help in, it puts this barrier around you where people don't feel your vulnerability, and they don't feel like they can really connect with you, because when I say you, I mean, I'm talking in a general sense. One can be untouchable and, yeah, somewhat, isolated in this seeming sense of being independence. Yeah. Like an island, being an island.
Yeah.
And so, letting people onto the island is a beautiful gift to those people. And I've seen that for you, is that when you opened up the borders and started stamping people's passports, they came and they loved that island. And
yeah, that's trauma, right? It's like we forget that there's an adult in the room now that can discern and read those passports. When you're a kid and you don't have a choice and you don't have safety, and you just have to figure out how to survive in that, and you don't feel like no one's coming to help you. There's, the little girl in me was like, well, what's the point in asking for help? No one's coming. So I became the help.
Yeah.
And then as I get older, I'm learning to teach that little girl that was true then, but it's not true now. And there are people here that can help and that want to help. And that there's now an adult in the room, me, who can actually discern who is safe and who is not safe, and who deserves access, instead of just saying all access denied.
I've just got this image of you previously, and you built your little castle on the island, and you've got your little like gun turrets all around the beaches, and then you swept all of that away, and now you're just like there with a tray of margaritas on the jetty, like, hey,
welcome to the island.
Let's go. It's way more fun.
Come on over, baby. Well, it was the same for you, baby. You had a moat around that heart of yours. And I was just relentless.
You are.
Just sat at the door saying, you in there? I love you. Hello. I'm not going anywhere, by the way. I'm still here. I made some snacks if you want to come out. And look at him now, folks. I love you, baby. Thank you for doing this with me.
I love you.
So if you're listening and you want to find more of this amazing man and the work that he's doing in the world, then you should go and follow him at Autonomy Foods, AUTONOMEFOODS. Look at that. I can spell.
There you go.
Autonomy Foods on Instagram. If you want to try all the amazing concoctions this human being is creating, and how to start your day and flow state, and also if you're an entrepreneur and you're interested in that, and just hearing about this amazing human story, who the hero's journey, this man truly is on a hero's journey. So thanks for being my husband.
My pleasure.
More soon. Bye. That's it for today, Awakened One. And just a quick thank you from me. Thank you for gifting us with your most precious resource, your time and attention, so that we can make this world a more awakened place. And if we're not friends on Instagram yet, then we absolutely should be. So come on over and say hello at Angelika Alana, and I'll see you there, and see you next week.